Mile 22 is a new film directed by Peter Berg, and it stars Mark Wahlberg, Laura Cohan, Ronda Rousey, and also this film stars John Malkovich and Iko Uwais. Iko Uwais is one of my favorite actors. He was in the Raid series, The Raid, Redemption, and Raid 2, and that's definitely one of my favorite action movies of all time. So if you're watching this video, I definitely recommend you checking out those two movies because you will not be disappointed. You will be blown away with the action sequences in there. So Mile 22 is about this team of operatives being led by Mark Wahlberg, and they got to protect Iko Uwais' character because Iko Uwais' character has a file about his government, and it could possibly put lots of lives in danger. And he has to be protected by the operatives, and they have to escort him from point A to point B to the USA and give these operatives this file to prevent terrorist attacks. So they pretty much got to escort him 22 miles of hostile territory to get him out of the country. Peter Berg is a really good director. He directed two great films a couple years ago. First was Deepwater Horizon and Patriots Day. Both of those films could have made it in my top 10 of 2016. And this is the fourth time he's teaming up with Mark Wahlberg. Then I told myself, what could possibly go wrong? And then I realized an episode of Very Odd Parents when Timmy Turner said, what could possibly go wrong? And when he said that, everything went wrong. And by watching this movie, I realized this film had so much potential. I could see the potential throughout, but the film itself was not trying to, you know, develop that potential to something great. There were a few positives with this film, so I'm going to get the positive out the way. The positives with this film, the performances was actually pretty good from Lauren Cohan's standpoint. I would say she had the best performance throughout. She really did a good job of like showing the intensity with her character, even though sometimes it did feel like she was overacting or putting too much into the role. But I did buy her, and I did feel a little scared out of her, you know, even though Lauren Cohan is really hot. But watching this movie, I didn't really see her as a hot person. I just felt like she was a person you do not want to meet on the street, and if you say hi to her, she would just come to you and just slit your throat. Mark Wahlberg was decent in this film, but yet I still have problems with his character. I'll get to him a little later. Ronda Rousey was decent in this film. She didn't really wow me with her performance. The last movie I saw her in was Expendables 3, and she definitely gave out an awful performance in that one. Iko Uwais did a decent job with his performance. I had a problem with his action sequences. I'll get to him in a second. Now as for the flaws, first it had an introduction. It had an introduction of the main character, Mark Wahlberg's character. They introduced his character. They developed his character through a series of montages in the first 5 minutes of the film. Basically, Mark Wahlberg's character, he is intellectually gifted. He's pretty much like Ben Affleck's character in The Accountant. He's autistic and he has a special set of skills. I didn't really get that at all. I didn't feel like he was intellectually gifted. I felt like he was a douchebag and an arrogant dick throughout the whole entire movie. There's just times in this movie where he just has an outburst for no specific reason at all, and he's just cussing out other characters in this movie, and he's even being a dick towards his team. And the other characters in this movie is just allowing it to happen and just brushing it aside like it's nothing. That's because the script demands them to accept it. Now for the audience, if you're an audience member trying to watch this movie, you can't really get into Mark Wahlberg's character. You can't even root for him, because why will you root for an ignorant prick who just cusses you out? That's not character. That's not great qualities to root for. The way this movie was just filmed and edited, it was just very sloppy and very choppy and very much jarring to watch. Every single action sequence, every single gunfight, every single time a character walks in the room, they have to use the bullshit old school shaky cam for every single thing they do, and they also use like super cuts. Like they have to pick a video and then they gotta chop it and cut it in like 140 million cuts, so therefore the audience can see every single punch from every virtual angle on demand. I was really getting out of the action sequences, and very much watching this movie, the action sequences itself had potential. If they removed the shaky cam, I will say the action sequences will be very good in this movie. But since they had these super cuts and the action sequences, is very much jarring and just irritating to watch. I don't know what Peter Berg was thinking when he was in the editing room. Either he was just drunk out of his mind, or he just didn't really give a shit about his audience or give a shit about the movie itself. And another thing that really frustrated me was Iko Uwais' action sequences. Iko Uwais is a fight choreographer and he's a fighter himself. Tell me why his action sequences was just stuffed with shaky cam and super edits. Like, I was very disappointed when his character revolving around the action sequences. The supercuts was so bad that they even used supercuts during the interpretative dialogue throughout this whole entire movie. Like, even when a character is like talking to another character, had to cut that and then switch it to a different angle from the side of their face or underneath their chin or over their head or something like that. And I just feel like some characters in this movie were just having bad days, because there's lots of characters in this movie that seem like they're very irritated and they're just dropping F-bombs. And also, I feel like the F-bombs that they were dropping didn't correlate with the conversation they were actually having. And it just seemed like the F-bombs was just force. And there's one character in this movie where I swear to God, he was dropping an F-bomb like 6 times in one sentence. It just really didn't make sense at all. Still, they tried to have this twist, and it just got a little convoluted, because it seemed like the director was trying to, you know, give the audience a message. And also, I'm very disappointed in the character development. Outside of Mark Wahlberg, they didn't really develop his characters, or they didn't really give time to give each character to shine. They pretty much just rushed this movie from point A to point C. And it's gotten to a point where I feel like there wasn't really a second act in this movie. There was just the first act and the third act, and then it just ended. All the characters in this movie just felt like they were extras outside of Mark Wahlberg. If they had the movie a little longer, this definitely would have been a better movie, but virtually movie was sloppy, and it's definitely one of the worst directed films of 2018. I just can't believe it. So definitely, I can't believe my eyes were sore after watching this movie. This literally, I gotta give Mile 22 a Val Kilmer Batman. This is definitely forgettable. I do not want to think about this film ever again. There were a few times where I actually did ooh, so I definitely gotta give credit there, but that's like only because when the cut ended, they showed the impactfulness of the punch. Definitely, that's my review of Mile 22. Have you seen Mile 22? Please do not check out Mile 22, but if you happen to watch it, please give me your thoughts and comment below and let's talk about it. So guys, that's my review of Mile 22. I think I just said that. Oh man. So guys, if you like everything you see and you agree, click right here, join me in the Batman family. I'll have more Batman-tastic reviews in the way. You have been warned. Till then, ciao.
Holy mackerel.